Hi and welcome to another video, part of this series where we're building an e-commerce website with Django and React. To follow along, you can just go to the Django React e-commerce GitHub repository. The link is in the description of this video. And once you've cloned or downloaded this, then we can get started. Hey everyone, so before getting into this, we just wanted to give you a heads up that our website justdjango.com has gotten a serious upgrade, and so if you're interested in becoming a better Django developer, then head over there. The link is in the description below, and otherwise, enjoy this one. So in the last one, we got this order summary that works when you just click this drop down and it shows you the items that are in your cart. Now because I'm not authenticated, we don't get to see all of the items in the cart, so we want to just fix this navbar to only show the login and sign up buttons if we're not authenticated. Otherwise, then we show this information. So we can just head back here into source, and we're going to go into our containers to the layout, as this is where we will configure the layout to display those items in the navbar. So right now we've got, if we're authenticated, then we only have the logout button. Otherwise, we have the login and sign up buttons. Then we have the link to products, and then we have the menu on the right, which displays this cart. So basically what we want to do then is just move some of this logic around. So the logout button will display on the right hand side. So what I'm going to do is just cut that menu item, and we can put this over here, actually on the other side of the drop down. So just over here. And this menu on the right will always display there, but we want to take this condition of if we're authenticated and just move it in here. So if we are authenticated, then we're going to display the drop down and the logout button. So I'm just going to wrap this in a React fragment and just put that all around this. Otherwise, if we are not authenticated, then we're going to want to display all of this. So I'll just cut that out, and we can move that over here. Cool, so that's that there. Then we can get rid of all of that, and we have this link to product, which is always there. So if we save that and just see here, then all of this should actually be inside that React fragment. And we'll just wrap this here with the closing and just make sure we put that over there. Cool. So we've got this React fragment that's wrapping all of this, and we display it if we're authenticated. Otherwise, we display these two buttons here. So now this is what it looks like. And if we go and log in, now we get the cart and we get logout. And something that we're going to do now is that if we click on this checkout button, then it will redirect us to the order summary view, which is what we're going to handle in this video. So we can just come here to this drop down and this text of checkout. If we click this, we want it to redirect us. So we'll just put an on-click event with an anonymous function. And because we're wrapping our component in this with router, we then have access to the location properties. So we can just call this .props.history.push to order summary. And then if we come back here and click on that, then it navigates us there, but we don't have any component to render here right now. So that's what we're going to do now. So we'll just create another container, and we'll just call this the order summary. And then we can bring this, and we'll just say class order summary that extends from react.component, and just put a render method and return a div, and we'll just say hello. And then we can import React from React and then export this as the default component. And we can save that and just bring this into our roots. So here we'll just copy this and say import the order summary from our containers order summary, and then just put another path here which goes to order summary and uses that component. So now if we come back here, now we can see hello is being displayed there. And we're basically just going to wrap everything in a container and display a table, kind of like the old e-commerce project that just gives you a list, or rather table rows of every product that you have in your cart, and just gives you the item itself, the quantity, the price, the total item price if you have more than one of that item, and then the order total itself, and then a checkout button that you can press to redirect you to the payment page. So we'll just use the table from Semantic UI React. And I'm just going to take the first one, this basic one here, and we're just going to copy all of that. Then here in the order summary, we can get rid of basically that hello, and I'll just paste it all there. And then here we will say import, and actually can just copy this import from there. Cool. So now if we come back, now we have this table, and we're just going to put it inside a container so that it's at least a little bit more centered. So we can just import that container, and it's just there, and then replace the div with that container. And then we can actually import the header as well, so that we can just put a header here before the table. So header there, and we'll just say as h3, and we'll just say this is the order summary. And if we come back, then this is what we have. And so basically what this little drop down is doing by rendering all of the items in the cart is basically what we're going to do in the exact same format here. We're going to loop through all the items just like how we were doing over there. And let's just go to products and add an item to the cart. And we'll see that it's not refreshing here, and we actually do want that to refresh, because if we refresh the page, now we can see that item there. So basically we will need to grab that action in our store. If we just go to the cart actions, we have this fetch cart action, which is calling the order summary URL and then dispatching with the response data to this cart success so that we can update the state. So what we'll do is bring that action into our order, or rather product list container. So here, then we'll just say import fetch cart, and this comes from our store actions cart. And if we want to link this action to the component, we're going to need to connect it using React Redux. So we'll say import connect from React Redux, and we can just come to the bottom here, and we'll say export default connect, and we will create a map state to, or rather map dispatch to props, so that we can get that action. So map dispatch to props, which takes in a dispatch, and here we'll just return an object where we'll call fetch cart, which is just an anonymous function that will dispatch the fetch cart action, which we've just imported from the top. And then we'll just connect it with null as the first argument, which is the map state to props. So now we have this in our properties. And then here we left a comment here, which is to update the cart count. And this is where we would then call this .props.fetch cart, so that every time we add to cart, now we are calling that action, which would then update our layout. So if we add to cart, now we get 2 times that shirt, 3 times that shirt. And if we just go and add another item here, we'll just add another one. Cool. Now we have another item. If we refresh this, now there's our other item. If we click add to cart, you can see that that was updated immediately, and that's what we want. So now if we click checkout, then here we will just loop through those items in the cart, and it'll be very similar to what we've done already, because we can just grab from the state. If we just go to cart, this Axios request is fetching the order summary URL. So we can just copy that, come here in the order summary, and we'll just say on our component did mount method, then we could say handle fetch order is an anonymous function, and it's just going to be auth_access.get the order summary URL, and instead of dispatching, we will then just call this .setState, and we'll set the data as the response data. And then here in the state, we'll have the data, which is originally null. We'll have an error, which is null, and we could have loading, which is false. So here we'll say this .setState loading to be true, and then when we set the data, we'll set loading back to false. And then the same thing here in our catch statement, except now we'll set the error as this error. So then in the component didMount method, we can then call this handle fetch order so that we get the data. And here in the render method, we can then access all of those properties in the state. So error and loading, which equals this .state. And we'll just console.log the data. And we'll also need to make sure we import auth access here at the top. So just like this. If we check everything, order summary URL we'll also need to import. So just import it there. Cool. And that looks good. So now if we come back here and just inspect this, we're getting this error here, which is coming from our layout. So we'll fix that in a second. But if we just check here in the order summary, there we're getting the same data that the layout is getting as well, which is the order summary. And there's our order items. So that's where we will start to loop through the order items and create the data here in this table. So let's just go back here to the layout and get rid of the console log there. And I'll get rid of the inverted as well. So let's just see. And okay, cool. So that error is gone now. So we can close the layout, and we can close the routes, and we can close the product list as well. So I'll just start by removing this footer here and instead putting a button. So I'll just import the button here, and we can just come all the way down here to the footer. So instead of this menu, we'll just put a button, and we can just say checkout, and we'll say the color is yellow. And then here we can say that the text align is right. Cool. So just like this. And then we can loop through the order items. So let's see here. We'll say if we have data, then we will render out this table. And we don't need all of these rows. We just need one example. And we'll keep the label there, which we can use as a way of showing if we have a discount on that item. So here inside the table body, we'll say data.orderItems.map. So for each order item, we're then going to return a table row. And we need to make sure we pass in a key, which is unique. So that'll just be the orderItem.id. So if we check this out now, then we have two order items being displayed, and we'll start by outputting the item name. So that will just be shirt, and then the quantity, and we'll just put a count of the order number. So it'll be, or item number rather, so item number 1, and then it'll be the item name, the quantity, the price, the total item price. So those kind of column headers. So if we just come back in here, then our headers here, this will be order, or rather item number. Then we can have item name, the item price, the item quantity, and then we can have total item price. So right now 5 columns, and then here we will also have to do 5 columns, and this label can go in the last one, and we'll just say this is on discount, and we'll put some logic as to whether this label should be displayed or not. But for now, here we'll have the item number. So what I'm going to do is just put I, so the index of the item in this list, and here we can just put I. Then this will be the item name, so that'll be order item dot item, and then it will be the item price, which we don't have right now. So let's just come back here and see. So we don't have price, we only have the ID and the quantity. So what we're going to need to do is go back into the serializers. So if we go back into core API serializers, then if we just take a look here at the order item serializer, here we can add some more information to display this item, because this is where we get information such as the price, the discount price, those sort of things, and we want to be able to pull that here on the order item serializer. So what I'll do is add another field here, which we'll say is the item object, and this will be a serializer method field, and that means that we will do something like this. We'll create a method which returns all of the items. We'll say this is get item object, and it'll basically fetch the corresponding item object that is associated with the order item. And we'll use this serializer here, the item serializer, and just pass in the object.item, and we'll get rid of the rest of those arguments there and just return that data. Then here we can return item object as one of the fields, and we'd most likely also like to get some information here off of the order item itself, which would most likely be the get final price, because that would be determined whether or not there is a discount price as well. So this get final price we'll add here as another method. We'll just say define get final price, which takes self and object, and then we can just say return object dot get final price, because that's already a method here on the object itself. So like this, then we can use this, and we'll say this is the final price, and then just add this as one of the fields. And then here on the order, we'd also like to get some information here, such as the total. So what we can do is say define get total, which takes self and object, and we're just going to return object.get total. Then we can use this as a serializer method field as well, and this will be called total. So we'll add it in here. Cool. So that seems to be fine. So if we come back here and just refresh the page, let's see, it's an order summary giving us a 500. Item object was declared, but has not been included in the fields. Oh, there needs to be a comma here. Okay, let's refresh this. And if we take a look at this information here, so we have the total, that's the total price of this order. And then for every order item, we have an item object with more information here. So we can go and put the price in the price column. We can put the quantity, which is off of the order item itself. And then the total item price we can access off of the final price here, because that's taking into consideration the discount. And then the on discount label we can display if this item object has a discount price. So if that field is not null, then we'll display this label. And then the order summary total, which is this total value here, will display as its own column span of columns here right above the checkout button. So let's just come back in here. Then for the item price, we'll say this is order item object price, and then for the quantity, this will be order item quantity, and we can also put a $sign in front of the price there. And then this label will say if the order item object discount price, then we will display this like that. And we could say that the color is green. So if we come back here, cool. Then we can just make the column span of this to be 5. So if we come back, cool. And then the total item price will display here after the label. This will be order item dot, let's just come back here. And this would be the final price, which is on the order item itself. So just over here and like that. There we go. And then lastly, we'll just create another row underneath these rows. So let's just come back here and copy this one there. So after mapping through all of that data, then we'll create this row here. And this one will also have a column span of, let's do it as 2. This will just be a table cell. And then what we can do is we can just create table.cell as an empty cell, and then create 3 of them so that it's just empty. And then the last 2 columns will be filled by this. And this here will be the order item, or rather the data dot. And then here we can take a look at this, and that's the total. So then we can just say total like that. And if we take a look, there's our order total. And we can also come and specify the text alignment to be center. And there we go. So now we have the total showing, and the idea is that if we click the checkout button, that it will then take us to the next place, which is to handle Stripe payments. And so we'll get started with that in the next video. If you've enjoyed this one, leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.